As night falls, Shahrazad continues her story to the king. Last time, we saw how the curiosity of the guest at the three ladies' house almost led them into danger, and how they were given a chance to spare themselves by sharing their tales. If you missed the last episode, you can catch up to understand how they arrived here, bringing us to where we are now. I'm Al-Hakawati, the legendary storyteller, and today we begin the story of the first Dervish. The first Dervish stepped forward, and all eyes turned to him. His face carried the marks of hardship, and his single eye glimmered with both sorrow and strength. He said that long ago he had been the son of a mighty king. His father ruled over a great city, while his uncle ruled over another. On the very same day, both he and his cousin were born. As they grew up, he often visited his uncle's palace, where he was always welcomed with warmth and kindness. Sometimes he stayed there for months, enjoying every comfort. His cousin, the prince, treated him with generosity and love, as if they were true brothers. But one evening, after they had been sitting together, drinking and enjoying each other's company, his cousin shared a secret with him. He made him promise, swearing by solemn words, that he would not refuse to help. Our young prince agreed without hesitation, and soon after, his cousin returned, bringing with him a woman whose face was covered, carrying the scent of perfume, and wearing the richest silks. Without explaining why, the cousin asked the young prince, the one who would later become the dervish, to take the woman to a certain old cemetery and wait there until he came. And so, bound by his promise, the young prince could not refuse. So he led the woman through the silent night until they reached the burial place his cousin had described. They waited there among the rows of graves. His heart heavy and full of question, he did not speak aloud. Soon after, his cousin returned, carrying a small bowl of water, a bag of plaster, and a carpenter's axe. He began to work on a tomb at the center of the graveyard. Stone by stone he cleared it, brushing away soil until he uncovered an iron slab, no larger than a door. When he lifted it, a narrow staircase appeared, winding down into the darkness below. The veiled lady went first, stepping down the hidden stairs as if she had always known the way. Then the cousin turned to the young prince and gave him a task. He was to close the entrance, cover it with soil, and seal it with plaster mixed with water, leaving no sign that a door had ever been opened. The cousin explained that he had spent a whole year preparing this secret place, and until now, only God had known of it. Once his cousin had gone down into the hidden stairway, the young prince did as he was told, and sealed the tomb so well that no trace of the entrance remained. Tired and confused by all he had seen, he made his way back to his uncle's palace, where the king was still away on a hunting trip. When morning came, the prince found no rest. His mind kept circling back to what had happened in the graveyard. Though he had kept his promise, regret filled his heart. Driven by worry, he went back to the cemetery, searching grave after grave to find the hidden place. But no matter how hard he looked, it was lost to him. He returned in sorrow, unable to rest or eat. And the next day he searched again, yet the secret tomb could not be found. For 7 long days he wandered among the graves, searching in vain for the hidden place. Worry weighed on his heart, and the uncertainty nearly drove him mad. At last, losing all hope of finding his cousin, he resolved to return to his father's land, for only there might he find rest from his sorrow. But as he reached the great gates, he was suddenly surrounded by men. Strong hands seized him, binding him tightly. Shock and fear filled his heart, for these were his father's own servants. How could they turn against him, the son of their king? He wondered silently what terrible fate had befallen his father. At first, the men said nothing. Then one of them, a servant who had once been loyal to him, spoke the terrible truth. His father had been betrayed. The army had turned against him, and the vizier had seized the throne. It was by the vizier's order that they now held him. He felt a wave of fear, for he remembered his long ago quarrel with the vizier. Once, while aiming his bow at a bird on a vizier's palace, his shot had gone astray and struck the vizier's eye. At the time, the vizier had held back, for his father was still king. But now the vizier had the power, and the prince had fallen into his hands, vulnerable and helpless. Even though it was an accident back then, the vizier still wanted revenge. Now standing before the vizier, the man who had once been his enemy, his hands tied, he faced the vizier's wrath. The vizier struck out his eye, leaving him with only one, as a mark of punishment and warning. Then the prince was bound tightly, put into a small box, and carried far beyond the city walls. The executioner was ordered to kill him and leave his body for the desert's beasts and birds. Out in the desert, as the executioner moved to cover his eyes, the young prince wept. His sorrow was so deep it touched the man's heart. He spoke of betrayal and trust, and the executioner, moved by his words, bound by duty but filled with compassion, he spared his life but warned him never to return to that land, for it was no longer safe. He explained that if anyone found out he had let the prince go, he himself could be in grave danger. He said that he could not forget his years of loyalty to the young prince's father, nor hide the sorrow he felt for what had befallen him. Thankful and amazed, the prince kissed the hands that had saved him. He traveled carefully to his uncle's city and told him everything. His uncle wept and fainted from grief, so the prince took care of him, though his eye was badly wounded. Both knew that surviving was far more important than saving his sight. The prince could no longer keep the secret to himself. He told his uncle everything about his cousin and the terrible events in the hidden tomb. His uncle listened, eyes wide with grief and relief. Finally, he said, "Come show me the place." But the prince explained that he did not know exactly where it was. He had searched many times before and could never find it. Still, they returned to the cemetery together, moving carefully among the rows of graves, step by step, grave after grave. He finally recognized the hidden place. They cleared the earth and lifted the heavy cover. A narrow stairway appeared, leading deep underground. They went down until thick smoke stung their eyes and made it hard to breathe. As the smoke began to clear, they found themselves in a large hall filled with flour, grain, and all kinds of food, as if prepared for some secret feast. In the middle, a curtain hung over a couch, hiding what was behind it. His uncle, trembling, pulled the curtain aside and saw his son and the woman together, but they had been consumed by fire. Their bodies turned to blackened charcoal, a final, terrible punishment. The uncle's grief turned quickly to fury. He spat upon the remains of his son, cursing him for his disgrace and warning that what had happened here was only the beginning of his punishment. Our prince stood in shock, staring at the scene, his cousin and the women, once full of life, now nothing but ashes. The uncle, though heavy with sorrow, spoke with sternness. He told his nephew that from a young age, his son had fallen into a forbidden love for his own sister. At first, he thought it was a childish foolishness and tried to keep them apart, but as they grew, desire overcame them, and whispers of their intent reached the uncle. He had warned his son harshly, telling him such a sin would bring shame greater than any known among kings or common folk. He threatened him with his anger, even with death, if he disobeyed. Still, the girl's love would not fade, and the devil twisted their hearts until they thought their crime was right. Unable to defy his father openly, the son built this hidden chamber, filling it with food and comforts, hoping to carry on in secret. But God, in his justice, would not allow it. Fire consumed them both, and though their punishment here was terrible, their true reckoning would be in the world to come. The prince's heart grew heavy as he listened, realizing how no secret could be hidden from God, and how love, when led astray, could end only in ruin. Tears filled his eyes, and his uncle wept beside him, their grief echoing in the silent hall. At last, the uncle turned to him and said that he would be a son in place of the one he had lost. For a long moment, the prince's mind wandered over the strange ways of the world and all that had befallen him. Then, together with his uncle, he sealed the tomb once more and returned quietly to the palace. Before they could even sit down, a great uproar rose outside. Drums thundered, men shouted, and clouds of dust darkened the sky as horses swept through the street. A vast army had descended upon the city, and chaos broke out everywhere. News came quickly. The vizier who had stolen the kingdom had gathered a mighty army and launched a sudden attack on his uncle's city. The city, unprepared and outnumbered, had fallen swiftly. In the chaos, the uncle was struck down, while the young man barely escaped to the city's edge. There, he was overcome with fear, knowing that if the vizier's men recognized him, his life would surely be taken. In desperation, he shaved off his beard and mustache, changed his clothes, and took on the simple garb of a dervish, hiding his identity, slipping quietly out of the city. His heart ached for all he had lost, his father, his uncle, and the city itself. Yet he kept going, hoping to reach the commander of the faithful, the caliph, and tell him the story of his trials and survival. That night, guided by fate, he came to where another dervish stood. He greeted him, admitting he was a stranger, and the man replied the same. Soon, a third traveler joined them, and the three walked together as darkness fell, led by destiny to the lady before whom he now stood. And so his tale explains how he had come to shave his beard and mustache, and how he had lost his eye. The lady, moved by his story, signaled for him to acknowledge her and leave. He replied that he wished to hear the other tales first. The others listened amazed, and the Caliph said to Jafar that he had never seen or heard anything like what had happened to this dervish. The story of our first dervish ends here, but the world of secrets and surprises goes on. Next time on Al-Hakawati, another dervish will share a tale full of cleverness, unexpected twists, and lessons that make you think. What would you have done if you were in his shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments and let me know what you think about this one. And I'll see you next time.